All right, we're live, Marty.
All right. How's it going, everyone?
Today we're reacting to some Adam Mockler cringe. So for those of you who don't know, Adam Mockler is like Destiny's, I should say, less technically gifted friend in debate. And Marty here went on Jubilee
It's a fun
and
time.
absolutely cooked Adam Mockler. So we're just gonna review that debate and maybe look at some other clips afterward. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Let's jump in.
Sup?
Hi, it's good to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Martin, nice to meet you.
Martin, I'm Adam.
Perfect. So what I want to talk about is, because we already established, kind of the golden age is a wide range of time.
Sure.
We're more so talking about
The
time
golden
period.
part.
Well, yeah, I'm saying for the age, we're talking about this entire Trump presidency and
Do
really
you think
after
we're in a
that.
golden age, like he claims?
I think we're entering one. And I think that,
How
kind
so?
of,
What indicators are
yeah,
showing
yeah. So
that?
what I want to talk about is more so, instead of
indicators
kind of moving
showing
off
that
of
we're
the
entering the
tariffs,
golden age?
talking about the biggest.
So again, this happens in every debate. Is people love to just focus on the numbers that they have memorized instead of actually talk about any policy
Yeah, exactly.
or like economics or any like macro theory. They just go like, we'll name the numbers because they'll know that like inflation's up a bit and unemployment in the healthy range also is up a bit.
Well, I think at this time inflation was down from when Trump.
Yeah,
took
because the
over, I
Iran war
believe.
still hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So all the numbers still look just fine, but they never know what the numbers mean, and that becomes clear.
Aspect of the Trump's economic presidency, which is the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, so I assume you're against the One Big Beautiful Bill, correct?
Yeah, certain parts of it, for sure.
Okay, for sure. So I think the biggest part of it is the extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Are you
True.
pro or against that?
I mean, that's fine, but it depends on the context around it. So what Donald Trump did is permanently extend the
Kai
Tax
in
Cuts and
back,
Jobs
just
Act.
anticipating the incoming just intellectual mog that's about to happen.
Dude, Kai's back there. Had you met Kai before this or spoken to him at all?
No, I met him at this.
Yeah, this is our first time speaking to Kai Schwimmer, and now he's a good friend. Disagree with him on a lot, but he's a good friend.
Hey,
Tax
speak for
cuts,
yourself.
and that disproportionately benefits the richest of the rich. But at the same time,
Okay, but does
like I said, at the same time, he cut social safety nets for people at the very, very bottom. And you know what the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act says? Wait, really quickly, if you look it up, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act over the next few years will lead to hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of children losing free lunch at schools,
Yeah,
while
as
it
soon,
also
as soon
allows
as he said
millionaires.
that, it was like it's just over. You see the little smile on my face right
Yeah.
there. It's like because going in, like I'd researched a couple of things, like about the One Beautiful Bill, and healthcare was like the biggest one because that was like the big talking point a lot of people were using of, oh, so many people are going to lose their healthcare. So I dove into it a little bit, and then as soon as he said that, I was like, all right, it's over. Like
It's game. It's
yeah,
wrapped.
literally.
They're losing their school lunches. How is they going to feed their kids?
Yeah, no, exactly.
If we take their
yeah, gonna have to start stealing.
yeah.
But no, so like as soon as he said that, I mean, it was just evidently clear that, like, for one, he was just pretty much getting this from headlines and kind of just like force fed, talking pieces from like pretty much throughout the left wing streamer network. So he was going to actually know the mechanism by which healthcare was being, I guess, cut, even though there wasn't really a numerical amount that they cut it. They just instituted more work requirements.
Yeah, so what I like to say to people is they'll say like, well, do you not know that Trump's cuts to Medicaid are incredibly unpopular? They'll cite the polling data and they say, look at the polls. But the polls just say, what are your opinion on Trump cutting Medicaid?
Yeah.
And people will always say, oh, well, it's crazy, ridiculous. How can anyone cut that? But then if you poll people and you say, what are your opinions on work requirements for Medicaid? Then all of a sudden those policies become wildly popular. And so what all the left-wing media does is they just conveniently leave out why and how they're cutting Medicaid funding, because it's not like there's a line in the Big Beautiful Bill that says minus $200 billion. Like it says we're now instituting these work requirements to get aid from these programs, and then they estimate the amount that cuts.
Exactly, and this is like this just goes to a like a broader not issue, but something to pay attention whenever people cite polling, because you could look at the same issue, and like Miguel just cited with healthcare, and just by the way it's phrased, there will be vastly different response rates and measures of support for it. So whenever people cite any sort of polling, it like if it's going to be a long form debate, instantly go into and like try to see what was the way that the question was asked, because that is the number one way. That
My
polling gets
favorite
viewed.
example is if you look at the ANES polling and there's like the congressional one.
Yeah.
If you ask people, are you in favor of abortion in all circumstances? It's a certain percent of people, I think it's like 20 something percent, or a certain percentage will say yes.
Right.
And then if you ask them, are you in favor of abortion in the third trimester or up to birth? All of a sudden, it becomes wildly, like once you give them the option to give degrees, they start picking a lot less that they're in favor of abortion in all circumstances. And it's because polling is just not, and it's a tool that you can use to gauge people's opinions, but the way that you ask questions really, really does matter.
It also allows billionaires to now write off private jets. Now, none of us in this room.
Okay, this is Marty doesn't address this in the debate with Adam, but this is a pet peeve of mine. If we're gonna say, and I don't think tax write-off should exist at all, but if we're gonna say that they should, and we say business expenses should be tax write-offs, if you use a private jet to save time, because that's why billionaires get private jets, is to work while they fly, then obviously you should be able to write that off. Just like I could write off for this streaming setup, if I'm making money from streaming, the keyboard or the camera. They'll say, why can you write off a gaming computer as a business expense? Well, if gaming on your computer is your business, then yeah, that's a valid business expense. So it's just this populist nonsense. They're writing off private jets while we're all starving to death. You can also start a business that requires the use of a private jet and write it off. So I just, it doesn't make sense to me why people bring it up.
Yeah, and just more broadly here, I think the framing that he uses is kind of ridiculous. So like, the rhetorical framework he sets up here is Trump is that the one big beautiful bill is taking away healthcare from kids while they're letting billionaires, stuff their pockets. And like that framing is just utterly ridiculous when you actually dive into each of the two policies. With healthcare, it wasn't that we're taking away healthcare from people, it's that we're making so you have to work to get healthcare. And with the jets, it was that we're extending the same logic that we use for a lot of other things regarding business expenses now to jets. And I think we also need to look at kind of like what is the impact of billionaires being able to write off their jets, like maybe losing somewhere in the millions on tax revenue each year. Like that's just absolutely insane, right? As a means of equivalency between the two. So I think framing is also incredibly important there.
Benefit from having a private jet,
let's
right?
touch on that. So let's touch on that first part. You said that most of the tax cuts are concentrated, within the top 20.
Well, disproportionately, I wouldn't say most. Yeah.
Well, so sure. So 60% of the tax, so 60%
John
of
Paul.
income earners actually do get
John
tax
Paul's in
cuts
chat.
under the one big beautiful
He's our
bill,
only viewer
under the
right
extension
now.
of the Tax Cuts
Oh,
and
we have
Jobs
two
Act.
now.
Specifically,
Yeah.
the median American family would have seen a tax hike of $1,800 a year should the Tax Cuts and
And I'm
Jobs
glad
Act
they extended that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I said, the context matters. When you're extending that, but you're removing social safety nets and allowing billionaires to write off private jets. Listen, we
Ugh, just like so bad faith to be like, well, they're letting them write off jets, which how in what world can you argue if you use a jet to travel for business, it's not a business expense? And it's not like it's the Democrats who want to keep the tax code complicated. Republicans, by far and large, believe in a flat tax rate. Everyone pays the same tax rate, no write-offs, nothing. Just simplify down the tax code. And it's the Democrats who are constantly pushing enormous EV subsidies, tax credits, government interventionism to cut down on like environmental impact and a bunch of other stuff. And for them to just act like you want billionaires to be able to
Right. Well, like even broader than that, like what's the impact of billionaires writing off private jets? It's just negligible. Like it's pretty much zero. So to have that be like the crux to record breaking tax write offs for middle class American or for all Americans is just asinine, right? So I think this is a tactic that a lot of bad faith debaters will do, and I think Adam's generally pretty good faith, but this is obviously a bad faith tactic, is that they will use a framework in which there's two things where the impacts are vastly different, and use one example as more of a metaphorical, symbolic example to counteract the one that obviously has the higher impact. So that's something that I think always needs to be looked out for.
Yeah, like how much is the tax cuts to individuals is going to put billions and billions of dollars back into individuals' pockets.
Yeah, exactly.
Where writing off private jets is maybe a couple $100 million.
Yeah, exactly.
If that are actually going to get reappropriated because of that. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, people in this
On the
room
social safety
will benefit
net,
a lot more from like kids getting free lunches than writing off private jets. I don't see anyone in
let's
this
talk about
room.
the social safety net part, though.
Yeah,
So the best example the left always brings up is cuts to Medicaid. The actual most prominent cut that we made to Medicaid was instituting work requirements of 20 hours a week.
They tried this
for
exact
Medicaid.
thing in Arkansas and it kicked 18,000 people off of their Medicaid.
Yeah,
and
I would say that if someone isn't working, then they shouldn't be getting health care.
No, but these were
subsidized from the taxpayer.
18,000 people who had increased barriers to get Medicaid. And what happens is these people who are vulnerable already.
The barriers of
then,
seeking a job.
No,
and
it's
paying
not
taxes?
just. It's not just that.
No, now Marty laughs, and that's kind of unfair because you have to understand, to a liberal Democrat, the worst possible thing imaginable is getting a real job.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is afterward, so Jubilee did like a little segment where they kind of like did a post-game interview with Adam afterwards, just kind of a one-on-one. and they re-brought this clip back up, and they're like, they asked Adam, so what were the barriers? And I was like, just increased paperwork. Like, are we kidding right now? like obviously not.
Like you check a box on your application that says I work 20 hours a week and attach a
Yeah,
pay
no,
stub.
exactly. Like, well, and like it's obvious that the reason that 18,000 people were kicked off their healthcare was probably just because they weren't working the 20 hours a week, which I would say is fair. Like if you're not working, you shouldn't expect society's help.
And we should also say that there is specific exclusions for disabled and elderly individuals. So this is only able-bodied people who are not working nor seeking a job.
Well, I don't think that there's exclusions for elderly. I could be wrong on this,
There
mainly
is.
because there's well, they're on Medicare,
Yeah.
so it's not Medicaid. But yeah, for Medicaid, there is exclusions for like disabled people who normally can't get a job. But even for even for the counter argument of, oh, well, what if we're not able to find a job? Like, let's say you go out and you do 100 applications and can't find one. They count community service in there too. Like you can do 20 hours of community service a week and still be eligible for healthcare too, to get Medicaid. So there's just absolutely no excuse for people not to be able to meet the barrier of 20 hours a week.
It kicks people off because the barriers become so hard. People with jobs can still get it, but the problem is, listen.
Well, what are the barriers though that are so hard?
The problem is when it comes to this, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Sorry, with that, the barriers for Medicaid. Sorry, 1 second.
No, okay, so it's like you said barriers. What are the barriers that are so hard besides getting a job where you have to go work 20 hours a week? There's already a qualification in there that if you're disabled, then that doesn't apply to you. I mean, what are these barriers? The left always speaks in these like just abstracts. Like it's actually like what are the barriers?
The increased barriers are when people are vulnerable and already working part-time, and then you cut them off of Medicaid. Yes, people can get Medicaid with this, but the problem is when 18,000 people.
Holy what? Like he just says when people are overwhelmed working part-time. Yeah, so you've already described someone who would be able to receive healthcare with the new
no, exactly, yeah,
because it's the rule. It was 20 hours a week, 80 hours a month, as I actually think how it's written.
Yeah,
but yeah, 20 hours a week. So even if you're working part-time, you would still receive the benefits.
Exactly.
People like in Arkansas are kicked off of their
Who
Medicaid.
weren't working part-time.
No, the 18,000 people were kicked off of their Medicaid because they couldn't get access to it. What happens then is that they have to.
Why couldn't they get access to it, Adam? Address me. You know that picture?
Yeah, the elephant in the room. I love how there's like this constant liberal assumption, and you could see this even in their justification against voter ID, for example, that people are just like so yeah, exactly.
This is Adam. This is the part-time.
Yeah, there's this constant liberal assumption with literally any conservative policy that tries to institute more accountability or more fraud prevention measures, that like people are just going to be so unbelievably stupid that they cannot like possibly fill out the paperwork.
we can't have voter ID. The blacks don't even know how to use computers.
Yeah,
they don't. The people they don't even know what a laptop is.
Yeah, like it like and you see this like constantly. Like I said, in any fraud prevention measure whatsoever, the liberal counter will 100% of the time be that there's gonna be people who don't have access to it because of this, which is just asinine, right? Like if the only increased barrier is getting is having 20 hours a week of work requirements, then all people are gonna have to do really is check a box saying they work 20 hours a week and probably submit pay stubs. Like that is not hard to do at all. And of course, government's inefficient, but like that is small potatoes compared to the amount of savings that we have and amount of potential tax revenue we stand to gain and just overall productivity we gain.
I want to address a few things in chat here. So we have Jorge saying that he's brown and he doesn't know how to get ID.
Well,
yeah, I'm brown too, buddy. We're still figuring it out here in the hood. And we have John Paul saying, so this is a comment. I want to know how you'd respond to this because I hear this all the time and I know how I'd respond, but I want to hear you. So if someone doesn't have work, you think they should just die?
Well, what do you mean by that?
So they'll say, okay, so you think if somebody doesn't have a job, like they're unemployed and they choose not to work, they're able-bodied, you think they should just die if they get sick?
No, of course not. Hospitals are required to treat people.
Depends on the hospital.
Well,
some of them have a policy of it. They're not always required to.
I think there's state laws, and I think federal laws too regarding like if someone needs life-saving treatment, hospital has to give it to them.
Yeah, there's a presumpation, but it depends on the treatment. If it's like chemotherapy.
Yeah, well, also say it's like just broadly. Let's say someone has cancer, like that counts as a disability under the one big beautiful bill. So
yeah, that is true. So most of the people who
get access to it.
So it'd be like dental that you'd lose access to, and
which yes, I would concede you should not have the right to dental care if you're just going to sit around.
I would go further and say, first of all, that you're not ever entitled to healthcare provided by someone else's labor. I don't think that you have a right. Like, if you have the right to the product of someone else's work, that's no different than slavery, because that means the other person has to provide that to you. Oh, exactly. They do not have a choice. And if somebody else is forced to provide their labor to provide you something and they don't have a say in the matter, that's akin to slavery in my mind. So yeah, I would say if they don't, then I'm not saying that they should die. I'm saying that they're sadly in a situation where unless there's charity offered to them, they will die, because it'd be wrong to steal from other people.
Yeah, well, I'll rephrase your question there, John Paul. If someone does not contribute to society, then they do not have the right to expect society to save their life. I would broadly agree with that. Or let me amend, voluntary. Like, if someone able-bodied who is able to contribute to society chooses not to, they should not expect the help of society.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. All right.
Dig into their social safety. Have to dig into their.
So how do they not get access then?
Because the barriers are increased.
What are the barriers? The only barrier you listed, the only barrier we talked about is work requirements, and that's working 20 hours a week.
Yeah, but it's the work requirements increasing is just, it's not. So wait, can you concede?
Guys, the work requirement increasing is just not, okay? That's what Martin here doesn't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Find common ground.
I also love that, like, the immediate pivot from Adam, and everyone in the room just recognizes and starts laughing.
You can press this down, pause it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everyone just starts laughing, and
With the tax cuts and listen, can you concede that what the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act does is it permanently decreases taxes for the richest of the rich, but then it but it also temporarily gives no tax on tips.
The most bad faith thing that he could possibly say. So this is what you see with people like Adam that I don't think you see from people on the right that are debaters. I think when you see Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, when they get pushed into a corner, they start thinking harder, they get flustered, but they never just resort to just like the most bad faith tactic imaginable.
Just pivot.
So Adam Mockler goes, so you recognize that the Tax Cuts and Job Act gives enormous tax cuts to the rich. Adam just admitted he likes the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Yeah. He said that he supports it and that it's good that it's still in place because it gives tax cuts to every other income bracket as well. And so for him to just immediately go after, like, well, you admit that the Tax Cuts and Job Act gives the billionaires enormous tax cuts. It's like, Adam, you just said you like it. What? You're just like LARPing now. You're just you're like, oh, he's defending the big beautiful bill, the one part that I chose to cite.
Yeah.
And I can't refute him on that. So now I'm just going to push back and say, oh, I don't like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. You just admitted you liked it
literally.
like 3 minutes ago. Who are we kidding?
Know that part?
Yeah, the no tax on tips.
But that's only temporary. So what it's like, it's like
there's a cutoff on it because you always want to like test out.
Okay,
tax
wait a minute.
Which is the reason why the original program had an expiration date.
Wait. Let me bring this back. So the permanent tax cuts for the richest of the rich don't have an expiration date. Wait, let me finish.
Because we already did that.
Also, those tax cuts are not just for the richest of the rich, which Adam conceded earlier.
Well, so you're going to see I say this like 3 different times. The only reason that we were debating the extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was because they were set to expire at the start of Trump's presidency, so we had to extend them. So this whole argument from Adam of, oh, well, Trump's just making, tax cuts for the rich, permanent, while he's making this other, program that helps out the middle class, not permanent. He made this program that you say helped the rich so much not permanent when he initially passed it. And the reason why is that that's usually what sound public policymakers do, is they have trial programs. If it's something that we haven't done that we need to test out, we do it for a short period of time so we can see how exactly this affects the economy, so it's easier to get out of if it affects us negatively. Like that's why we have shorter periods on some programs like no tax on tips or no tax on overtime. And I explained this like 3 separate times to him, and he simply does not seem to understand any of the times I explained it. Which one?
They don't have an expiration date, but you have an expiration date for the things that are going to help them. Why is there an expiration date for the people who are the most?
Is he just not fucking listening? I'm so confused. Like,
gives no tax on tips. Do you know that part?
Yeah, the no tax on tips.
But that's only temporary. So what it's like?
There's a cutoff on it because you always want to like test out.
Okay, wait. It's temporary because you want to test out new tax policy because that's sound public policy making.
Wait a minute.
Which
Why-
is the
wait a minute,
reason
wait,
why the original
okay,
program
wait,
had an expiration date.
Wait. Let me
Which
bring
is
this
why the program originally expired, because they were testing it out.
back. So the permanent tax cuts for the richest of the rich don't have an expiration date. Wait, let me finish.
Because we already did that.
Wait,
We
no,
already had
they
the
don't.
trial
They
Literally
don't
just
have an
repeats the
expiration
same
date,
thing
but
you
you have
just
an expiration date for the things that are going to help
it's
them.
the- 'cause it's the first time trying
Why
it, so
is
of
there an
course you're like-
expiration date for the people who are the most
Because
vulnerable?
it's a trial program, and the tax cuts for everyone were made permanent. Like, I mean,
The
so we
tax
already
cuts
made,
for
we already
everyone
made
were
the
made
It's just like, what do you say when you say the same thing like 8 fucking times?
Yeah, exactly.
And Adam just like,
No,
but why?
Yeah, like you see me then go like that. So like I'm at a loss for words. Like I don't know how else I could say this differently.
Like in plain English. And I think you say something really witty.
Permanent.
Why would you not make the tax cuts permanent? You know when they end? They end right as Trump's leaving office. So this is what it's like.
Yeah,
it's
'cause
like,
it's a trial
it's
period
like
for the-
waving
for
a
the program.
$100 bill in front of somebody's eyes while giving thousands of dollars to
Okay,
the
real
richest
quick.
of
So
the
we
rich.
moved off the early part. Can you concede again that work requirements are a good thing for Medicaid?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Awesome. So you support Donald Trump on that?
No,
Great to know.
I don't support. No, listen. When you sat down, I said the context matters. The context of permanent.
Guys, yes, the policy's good. Yes, the tax cuts are good. And yes, the Medicaid work requirements are great. But what really matters is that billionaires can now people can just write off private jets.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
That's what really matters. You know,
Yeah.
all the policy's great, but
Yeah,
just
the symbolism of this clearly outweighs the
Yeah.
economic impact of probably like billions of dollars of tax funds that you're going to be able to keep. A loss of unemployment compared to what it would have been. But the symbolism of billionaires getting right off their private jets, we can't do that.
let
one.
them eat cake. Trump is
exactly.
basically Marie Antoinette at this point.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
need the French Revolution is what Adam's saying here.
Tax cuts. Wait, do you? If you
Okay,
could-
and actually, so let's
let me
let's
ask you,
talk
if
about-
you could
let's
have
talk
it
about tax
your
cuts for
way,
richest
if
Americans.
you
Look
could
at Kai in the background, dude. This guy is like
cuts. Wait,
a
do you?
lion.
if you
Okay,
could-
and actually, so let's
let me
let's
ask you,
talk
if
about-
you could
let's
have
talk
it
about
your
tax cuts for
way,
richest
I think
if
most
you
of
could
the
have it
comments
your
are
way,
just
would the
about
no
Kai
tax
in the
on tips be permanent or?
If it works out, then I want to make it
Wait,
permanent,
no.
which we will.
If you had it your way, would the no tax on tips be permanent now in the big beautiful bill, or do you think that them expiring right as Trump leaves office is a good thing?
I want to make sure that they work and then make them permanent. I want to make sure that we don't need to expand it. I want to actually have a sound public policy.
Why do you think Trump made them not permanent?
I've already
Jesus Christ. Okay, you know what? You responded to this perfectly.
actually have a sound public policy.
Why do you think Trump made them not permanent?
I've already said this 3 times because when you ever have a new program,
It was definitely more than 3 times.
Yeah.
You said 3 times. It's genuinely, I'm not even exaggerating. I think it was 5 or 6.
I think it was.
you need to try it out. You need to have a trial period, which is why the 2017 TCJA had a cutoff time. So, and let's talk about you bring up taxes on the richest Americans.
Yeah.
So I assume like I said, you're opposed to the Trump's tariffs.
The Trump tariffs, yeah.
Okay, why?
The Trump tariffs for a few reasons.
Or just tariffs in general? Why are you opposed to tariffs?
I'm not opposed to tariffs in general. As
Yeah, so
I've
I
said,
did not-
there
I
are
did
ways
not
to do
expect him to say
targeted
that.
tariffs, but when Donald Trump got into office, he placed
Yeah, there we go. I did not expect him to say that. My kind of game plan going in here was that Adam was probably gonna take the more free market approach to tariffs of well they increase the cost of goods coming to the United States so that cost is ultimately passed along to the consumer. I thought he was gonna take that line that people like Destiny were taking at the time. So me and Miguel had been arguing about tariffs for a little bit or just talking about what our lines on that would be, and like that line is just like the traditional Reaganomics line on just free market goods in general, that anytime you have some sort of a restriction on the price of a good, or for corporations, then that cost is ultimately going to get passed on to the consumer. That's the exact argument for why corporate taxes are bad, as you kind of see on screen here. That there really shouldn't be any corporate taxes, because at the end of the day, that tax is passed along to the consumer in the form of less growth, having less people employed, having to raise their prices so that they can stay competitive.
We have a question in chat here. Somebody said, "Who's this guy?" I don't know if we're reacting to Adam Mockler. This is Martin Berteo. He's the president of the College Republicans of America.
Nice to meet you. Remember, Democrats like tariffs too, just not what Trump does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Biden didn't remove the Trump tariffs at any point in his term. I think they like the tax revenue and they didn't want to contribute to the deficits.
That is actually a good point, JP. I do wonder if let's say, for example, a Democrat wins in 28, whether or not they keep Trump's current tariffs on the book. Or actually, never mind.
There is no. The Supreme Court already killed the tariffs on the
That
book.
is true.
But it's just like it's just all a LARP. The Democrat platform, and don't get it's kind of true for the Republicans too, but I think more so for the Democrats that the whole party platform just doesn't make any sense. There's no cohesion. People will come up to us, "Oh, well, tariffs are terrible. Tariffs are so bad." And we just asked them, well, why are tariffs bad? And they'll say, well, because the companies are going to pass the cost on to the consumer. And then Marty and I will say, cool, so you're also against corporate taxes, right?
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
absolutely not. Corporations need to pay their fair share. It's like, are you retarded? Like, do you just not think how the exact same argument applies to these two things in the exact same way?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's completely different.
And Adam kind of makes this point later, where he says like tariffs are a regressive tax. So the underlying logic there is still the same of like why corporate taxes are bad, or why even taxes on high income people are bad. It's kind of the same argument why corporate taxes are bad. So he kind of still makes that argument here, just like a little subliminally. But I was surprised in the moment that he made that concession that he actually doesn't dislike tariffs overall.
Yeah, no, I would never have guessed that Adam Mockler would concede that.
Tariff on every single country except for North Korea and Russia. I find that pretty weird. But
I despise. Pause again. I actually despise this framing because, so I talked about this a little bit on Kai Show as you see this like diabolical face he's making there in the back. Like the frame that Adam is trying to have here is like, oh, so Trump's just not tariffing, his dictator buddies. Well, first of all, why would we, have a tariff on North Korea? What do we trade with North Korea?
We have sanctions on both countries.
Exactly.
We don't trade anything with either of them.
Yeah, we have sanctions on both North Korea and Russia, so there's really no point in having tariffs on them. And
no, but it's about the symbolism, right?
Exactly.
Like the billionaires are writing off the jets, and the elderly people can't get their Medicaid, and the young working man who works 4 hours a week in his mother's basement can't get the health care.
Yeah.
All
exactly.
while we're giving tax cuts to wealthy people. So really, it's about the symbolism.
No, exactly.
I want to ask you, after 9 months,
we'll have a little bit of time left.
After 9 months of going through this tariff stuff,
okay, there's a very simple point here. So we're talking about cutting taxes for the richest Americans and all Americans. The reason why that's actually a good thing is because you want people investing more money, especially right now when we're seeing an AI revolution, which is about to make our country exponentially.
You understand that? Wait, let me make this point.
That's why
I gotta make this
the House
point.
Republicans and President Trump have projected that's actually not going to grow the deficit.
I gotta make this point. Tariffs are a regressive tax on the people who earn the lowest. Well, so right now,
all a tariff is a sales tax. That's literally all it is.
Okay,
it's a sales tax on foreign goods.
Listen, low-income earners necessarily spend more of their income on consumption, right? So when you're spending more of your income on consumer goods, you are going to be hit by these taxes harder. Meanwhile, the richest of the rich are getting tax cuts, are getting all of this.
Everyone's getting taxed.
The richest of the rich are disproportionately benefiting from this.
See,
so wait a minute.
Can you concede that the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act being extended will put more money into the families of working families than tariffs will take out?
No, that is not true.
Yes, that absolutely is true.
Can you concede that lower income earners
top 1% and 20% may see net gains because they're may see net gains. So they're not even saying that they're gonna see gains. Middle and lower income families are projected to face a net financial loss.
Well, the issue with these studies mainly is that they don't count in the projected savings from the corporate tax cuts as well, because that also has to be put into effect here, because obviously the corporate tax cuts are going to result in more jobs for people than there would have been otherwise. It would result in lower prices than there would have been otherwise, because they're reinvesting into more technology and things like that. So yeah, at the end of the day.
Oh wait, someone here saying they're Coolvik's one of his main mods. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I go on his show sometimes, and I'm always in his chat as well. I love his stream. So you probably did recognize me correctly.
Yeah, so
I'm the one who Brian Shapiro sent unsolicited nudes to.
Yeah. Justice for Miguel.
Hashtag justice for Miguel.
No, but yeah, so like this fact check's pretty ridiculous, because like when you take into account not only the income tax savings, but also the corporate tax savings that are going to get passed along to people, then it's not even close. Like obviously, the TCJA is better for Americans than the tariffs are really bad, and the tariffs didn't even take into effect really. So there's really no comparison.
Yeah.
Are disproportionately benefited by the regressive tariffs.
One more time.
So lower income earners necessarily spend a
when
larger.
we bring jobs back, they're going to be disproportionately.
When are they going to
helped.
bring jobs back? Jobs have been.
Tariffs take a while to kick into effect. You need to have trade deals. You need to have the tariffs actually raise
How many
prices
trade
on
deals do we
foreign
have?
goods. We've done one with the UK. We've done some with the EU. We're working on some with India.
Are these?
This one might have aged a little poorly.
I like 10 seconds left. I can throw up some shots.
I mean, it takes more than 3 months to negotiate a massive trade deal.
Donald Trump said 90 deals in 90 days. What do you mean it takes more than 3 months?
How many? 478. Yes, Marty is here.
I think that's DLX coding. Yeah, Marty's there. John Paul says sales tax is regressive, which is true. All consumption taxes are.
How much he's going to have it sound bad like that?
Time out.
You got me. That was a good one. That was really good.
Thank you.
You got me.
That was great. Let's
That was
see.
a fun time.
I kind of want to, guys, I kind of want to reminisce on some old, like, BuzzFeed feminism stuff. I feel like they used to be so big and they had so many good videos. But now, what does feminism mean to you? Am I a bad feminist? Dude, this is like my childhood here. I don't know. What should we watch, guys? Any recommendations? Should we react to maybe some Brian Shapiro? Get the bingo card up? I don't know. Oh, is someone threatening to dox you in the chat, Marty?
Whoa,
I think that's interesting.
not good.
Let's see Dean Withers' Jubilee performance. He had a second one, right?
I think that we need strong alpha males like Donald J. Trump, Spencer Pratt, and our loved Charlie Kirk.
Did you just
On the street,
unironically say strong alpha males?
we have laws in favor of women getting leadership roles. We're taking opportunities.
Surrounded claim is men aren't better at leading than women.
Oh my God, she's not gonna pick you, Dean. I just, why would you come up with that? And he's like, their amygdala and it releases less of the cerebellum and blah, 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 and that is cortically what leads them. That's why they commit less crime. And it's like, Dean, what source, bro? Like, please, this is just such an embarrassing prompt. Trump is a misogynistic sexual predator. Abortion should be legal. This is the one I'm probably the most interested in watching.
Family or this.
Hello again.
Oh God.
Welcome back.
right.
Mike's yours. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you believe in equality?
Well, I mean, I think that's a very vague question, but generally, of course.
Okay, so if you do, then all humans are equal, correct?
No, I don't think that all humans are equal, and I don't think you do either.
Oh, I absolutely think that all humans have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Really?
It's part of our Bill of Rights.
Okay.
And if you actually love our Constitution,
Someone needs to make a Dean edit. You know that? Remember that one sound? I think it was Musically. It was like, can't really mess with me way back then, but where it's like him as a 17-year-old, like femboy looking guy selling online scam courses using, you know, he did that. He used his mom's car.
Did he actually?
Yeah. And he's like, guys, follow me to get rich. Buy my course. Yeah. He was selling scam courses.
I didn't even know
before
that.
he got
I
into
know he used
politics.
to. I know he used to be a Trump supporter, like back in 2020. But I didn't-
Really?
yeah, Dean used to be a Trump supporter.
That's
yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, yeah. And he sold fake courses.
Okay.
I'm actually really curious how much of what he purports to believe that he actually believes. Because
I think, yeah, Dean probably.
I think a
loves
lot of
on
it's a
lot.
LARP. I think a lot of it is a LARP with Dean.
in our Bill of Rights,
Is that Sine in the
then
chat?
you would believe what
Yes.
I believe.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it says people, but small distinction there. I want to ask you a question. Is it murder for a doctor to pull the plug on a brain dead patient in the hospital?
Some people actually write what they want done. You know, they say, hey, if I become brain dead, then pull the plug.
Yeah, but for instance, if they don't do that, okay, like for instance, I haven't done that. If when I leave the set
Oh, it's
today, I get
wrong.
into a nasty car
I think he's
accident, I
wrong.
get T-boned by a drunk driver, I go brain dead.
Alex, you may
Okay,
know
would
where
it
I
be
live,
murder
but I
for
know
like my
your
family
full government name, so.
to
so
tell a
watch
doctor
out,
at the
buddy.
hospital, well, because he's brain dead, let's just go ahead and pull the plug? Would that be murder?
I honestly, you're talking to someone that is very skeptical of doctors, okay? And even
Oh God. All right. Well, anyway, so the real good argument to give here when Dean says, would you support pulling the plug on a brain dead patient, is I would say, would you support pulling the plug on somebody if they don't have a current state of conscious experience? Because Dean Withers will say consciousness is the reason that that murder's wrong. It's ending someone's consciousness. But if you say, let's say somebody's in a coma and they're not currently conscious, would it be wrong to kill them then? He would say, no, their past conscious experience is what gives them the right to life. Which, first of all, super arbitrary. Like, according to who? You just made that up? But also, even that belief is disproved by the brain dead thing. And in his mind, you need a past and a future conscious experience. Not where we would just say the future conscious experience is what matters. The reason I can't pull the plug on you while you're in a coma where you're going to wake up from isn't because you used to be awake. The reason I can't pull the plug while you're in a coma is because you're going to wake up. Yeah. That's what makes it wrong. Like, anyone would intuitively, immediately understand that. No, that was a good snap of my fingers.
Yeah,
anyone would intuitively understand that the reason it's wrong to unplug someone who's going to wake up is because they're going to wake up. Not because they were awake before. It's because they're going to wake up in the future.
they talk about brain dead people
Yeah.
that weren't actually brain dead.
True. Good
So
point.
that's why I always leave up to everything to God. So when I die is when I die.
I want to clarify
So
that.
I actually don't want to be killed. But now, if you're on all these machines to keep you alive, if it's months and months and you're not getting better,
Yeah.
So she's saying something, and I actually think it's a really good argument that people don't understand with the distinction. I don't know if you've heard this one before, is that there's a big difference between letting someone die and killing somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
So when
I
somebody
saw Trent Horde.
Yeah, yeah.
response, yeah.
Yeah, so if you if somebody is dying and I have a ventilator that's easing a lot of pain from me, right?
Right.
And I use the ventilator because I want to ease that pain. That's a lot different than that person, having their own ventilator, putting it on, and then being going taking off their mask and
Right.
being like,
Exactly. Yeah.
like there's a difference between killing somebody and letting them die. So when people, is this lady the anti-vaccine one? Yeah, she had a interesting interaction with Dr. Mike on a different episode. But when people say like, oh, what about a brain dead patient? They're being kept alive. A baby is in its natural habitat. If you let it continue to its natural devices, in the place where the mother forced it to be by conceiving it, by voluntarily having sex, the mother forced the baby into that state, then yes, it would actually be killing the baby to remove it, where letting the brain dead patient die would just be letting the brain dead patient die.
then you're using machines to keep you alive.
But they're still alive, and you still
Yeah.
don't think it's
GP,
murder
do
to
you,
kill
you know
them.
which
So you
prompt she was in, the live action one?
actually don't think that all humans have this intrinsic right to life. And by the way,
I never
that's-
said no. You don't speak for me. Again, I
Well, then-
just told you I don't believe in doctors.
Okay.
So I don't go to the hospital.
I have a very
like
that's
I just
insane.
I have not gone to the hospital in a long time.
Okay, well, I hope that you know. I hope that-
because
I want to add on a
believe
point of
when it's
Can we
my
get more
time,
flags
it's
up,
my
please?
time.
Do-
Now,
I
question
will
for
say,
you.
I actually
Alright.
do like the new format with the guy like sitting there. I do think that's like a good touch.
What's the difference?
So when,
What?
So like now they have like the moderator dude sitting there. Remember how like when we were there,
Mhm.
they were like out of frame
Yeah,
saying stuff. I do like how they're kind of like there now because they'll even do things now where they'll pull the people in the audience too. So it's a little bit of a different.
not
like,
gone to the
interface.
hospital
That's
in a
cool.
long time.
Okay, well, I hope that you know. I hope that-
because
all
I
the
believe
flags
when it's
immediately
my
go up.
time, it's
Notice, so
don't believe in
Jubilee-
doctors.
Okay.
So I
I'm
don't
so
like- I
certain
don't
if
go
you
to
look
the
at a clip
I have a
like
very
this,
like
that's
I just
insane.
I have
they all put their flags up as soon as they're able to.
not gone to the hospital in a
Yeah,
long,
what-
long
what-
time.
Well,
Okay,
but here's
well, I
the
hope
thing.
that
This meter here doesn't fill up.
you know,
And it's because
I
they're
wanna
just
add
going to
on
let
a
this
point
woman
of
up here embarrass herself because they want to get good clips of Dean because they want to make Dean look good.
Yeah, and they did this in the episode that we were in too. So like what they'll do is, and they'll tell us beforehand, like just because there's like 10 or 11 or whatever they consider the majority of flags go up, doesn't mean that they're going to vote everyone. They're going to remove the person. They do it whenever they think the conversation isn't going anywhere, is what they say. So like, I think for ours, they even removed someone like before it hit 10 flags just because they didn't like the conversation. Also, a little peek behind the curtain. I tell everyone this. A little peek behind the curtain when they're racing to the chair. It's not real. They pre-picked the person. But-
Yeah, the race to the chair is fake. And low-key, some people get way too into it. So they be like, they know who's going to get the chair, but they'll still like...
No, Miguel and I, we thought we were like metagaming it out because like we saw like which chair we were going to be in. So we sat like hella close to that. We were literally like the two people that were like closest to that.
Yeah.
chair. So we
And
thought,
then they're like, guys, it's all fake. It's a scam. It's a lie.
Yeah.
We're dishonest.
My time, it's my time.
Do-
Now, question
okay.
for you.
All right.
So, when do you think life begins?
I think that life begins at the moment of conception.
Good. I'm glad you believe that.
You're
So-
Christian and you base your morality
and that's
off
called
of
science.
Christianity.
And see, it seems like
Can I
the
ask
people
you a
that say
question?
we're anti-science, they're anti-science because they don't believe man and woman. They believe genders.
I want to ask you a question about abortion.
Okay.
You made the claim that all humans are equal. Every single human has the identical right to life. That is a claim that fundamentally everybody
it depends.
rejects
Actually,
in one
no,
way
actually,
or
Dude, you
no,
said live
I
action
another.
didn't say that. So
57:55. I'm gonna use the bathroom quick. We can react to that when I. Get
All right,
back.
I'll keep reacting to this then. Let me switch POVs here. I'll hop in the center. Boom. All right, guys. Solo
See,
reaction.
You're putting more into the sentence that I did not add.
Your opener
okay, I
was
said
about
for
equality for
life,
everyone.
liberty and a pursuit of happiness.
Which
now,
would be-
if
This
you're
is
a
so true. Pro-choice. Jorge says pro-choicers bring up the Bible more than pro-lifers. This is so true. Every time I argue with somebody, or not every time I table to argue about the pro-life cause, somebody always comes up. They go, "Are you a Christian?" I say, "Yeah," and they're like, "Well, I just can't take you seriously because you're just using the Bible. And it's like, why didn't you just ask me first what my arguments are? Because I'd never cite the Bible in a pro-life debate, because that's just ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't cite the Bible to a secular person, because there's tons of good secular arguments for why abortion's wrong. And, you know, maybe they're not fully secular because they presume that murder's wrong, but, you know, secular enough. If you agree murder's wrong, then you should agree that abortion's wrong.
Murderer, I do believe in capital punishment, but because of your actions. So that's where I don't believe in equality. Is like, is a baby and a murderer.
Also, he's saying you don't believe in an equal right to life because murderers, you do believe in capital punishment. She says, yes, you can believe that everyone has an equal right to life that they can lose when they commit an action, right? That's a very different thing than saying, oh, well, no, those people just don't have the right to life. Because everyone innately has the right to life. It's something that I guess you would argue is lost. And I don't know where I stand on the death penalty, but what I can certainly say is that that's like saying, do you believe in freedom from captivity? Yeah. Oh, well, you know, prisoners go to jail all the time. So clearly you don't believe in freedom. So really, I as a woman should be able to enslave people in my attic. That's what that means. It's like, Dean, that does not follow at all from what you're saying.
The same? No, because a baby's innocent. A civil society protects the most innocent and vulnerable. They don't go and murder them. That is a satanic society, and I reject a satanic society.
Okay, we got to stop there. You've been voted out.
Okay.
If you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Tish.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Why should abortion be illegal?
Well, let me ask you something. Abortion is legal here. What procedure do you prefer? The suction, the dye, and the what is it?
I don't know. The most brutalistic, gross one where we chop up all their limbs and throw them in the trash. Listen.
Really, that's gross.
Okay.
That is so gross.
I know. I'm rage baiting you. Listen.
I have 4 children, a set of twins.
That's the mark of a good faith debater, when he just says, I know, I'm rage baiting you just a few seconds into the interaction. You know, Dean, I don't understand, because Dean isn't pro-choice, my understanding, all 3 trimesters. He thinks that once a conscious experience is present, that abortion should no longer be legal. But I love to ask people like Dean, Dean always says the leading cause of death amongst the youth is gun crime. If we look at the number of school shooting deaths from the past 20 years and add them all together, it's less than 1/20th of the numbers of death from late-term abortion in a single year. So, like, Dean, if he cares about gun crime as much as he purports to, and thinks that 3rd trimester abortion's murder, he should be like the leading anti-abortion advocate on earth, because so many people die from late-term abortion, which he agrees is murder. But he'd say, well, that's only allowed when the health of the mother is in jeopardy. Meanwhile, I don't know if people know this, courts have decided that mental health, anxiety, depression, those all count as health of the mother. So if a mother has any of those conditions, she can immediately terminate the child at will in California. So
I would never ever do that to my children. And would you have your girlfriend do that to your child?
Well, ultimately, I think it's a choice.
Or do you have a girlfriend?
I do.
Oh, you
ultimately,
do?
I think that it's a choice of the woman. So if you want to tell me that you never get an abortion,
no,
all the power to you. I love that for you, because that's your choice, and I think that's great. But listen, I don't think that abortion is murder, because I don't think that there's any trait that we could identify to be true of a fetus in which we fundamentally would value enough to grant the right to life. The last person on the mic said, well, fundamentally, all humans have the same right to life. And that's something that we hear from a lot of pro-lifers. As I was attempting to communicate to her, everybody rejects that view in one way or another. So I want to hear your argument insofar as why it's morally wrong for a woman to get an abortion outside of its gross. Because grotesqueness doesn't arbitrate morality. Like, taking a shit's pretty gross. Shit smells like shit, right?
Okay.
But we're not going to say it's morally wrong to take a shit, even though it's gross. So what's the argument that abortion is wrong?
Let me just ask you this. Everyone's really, really focused on,
So Dean and the atheists always have this, is they can just run away and hide and be like, well, yeah, it's really uncomfortable. People like Soy Pill, a prominent left-wing streamer and YouTuber, they'll be like, well, yeah, abortion's really gross. And, I did just say that you should be able to rape a baby and kill it, and that's less bad than eating pork. And yeah, all those things are really gross. but go ahead and prove to me why it's wrong. Like intro, like they took a philosophy 101 class, and now they're just moral subjectivists, and they're like, guys, I've defeated the entire the philosophic enterprise from the start of time. All church canon has failed to answer, why are things wrong? How can we prove that it's wrong? And it's like, Dean, okay, taking a shit, pretty natural, done correctly, not that gross. Shitting in your hand and throwing it at someone, pretty objectionable, pretty disgusting to think about, pretty disgusting to look at, and you have that intuition against it. So maybe that's why that should be illegal. And when I see a video of an abortionist doctor ripping a baby apart, giving the baby a lethal injection, ripping it apart limb by limb, and then reconstructing it outside of the womb, and you see what is undoubtedly a human child laying there dissected on the table, and I say, Dean, this looks really wrong. They're tearing children apart and then putting them back together like Legos. And he goes, but can you prove that it's wrong? What are we talking about? This is like the thing that we should probably just baseline agree is wrong.
Exactly. And well, a lot of the time, like, and JP knows better than anyone from your debate with Soy Pill, they'll just straight up agree to these absurdities. Like that, for example, that eating pork is worse than like taking an aborted baby and and raping it. Like they will admit to those sorts of things because they know that in order for their position to be morally consistent, that those absurdities they have to agree to. And at a certain point, like like your intuition should guide you on these things, like such as like raping a dead aborted baby or just a dead baby in general, that these things are morally wrong because our intuition tells us they are morally wrong.
I wonder what Soy Pill and like Peter Singer, we should quiet it with the R word, we're gonna get banned, but what they would say if you said, what if you essayed a newborn baby that died, would that be morally wrong? And I think they'd all have to say no. And I think they would admit that. I don't think they'd be above admitting that. So we need a, Jorge says in chat, I agree, degens don't understand the difference, but like women literally can't be ordained. So, okay. Well, I'm not going to finish the rest of that message. Someone, Deckard Kane said, or Deckard Kane says, every reason a person would agree a life is forfeit the result of an action, except what he's advocating for, and any other circumstance taking life of someone who did nothing wrong is criminal. Yeah, 100%. This is the only situation where taking someone's life, not just letting them die, taking someone's life is permitted.
It should be the right.
I should say that's what he would say. I'm not saying that.
For every woman, why don't you think about it the other way and think about why don't you prevent all these women who don't want to have babies? Why aren't you guys helping them prevent pregnancies?
We do. I agree we should.
Yes, we
100%.
should.
We need access to comprehensive sex ed in schools. We need free and fair access.
I'm so tired of this left-wing talking point. Seriously, whenever somebody says, oh, well, the reason people are getting pregnant is because we don't have good enough sex education. First of all, yes, we do. I would remember being in sex ed class, them teaching us everything. I guess I'm from California, so it's a bit more left-leaning.
Yeah.
But secondly, you're telling me these people, they buy the condoms and they look at them and they're like, oh, how does this work?
Yeah, no,
I just don't know. And it's almost like self-reporting. Like,
well, this goes back to what I said earlier. Like so many left-wing arguments just come back down to the assumption that people are just like absolutely like not just stupid, but just like straight up like sub 50 IQ.
Yeah.
Like that is genuinely their assumption of the American population. Like they like I said on healthcare, they assume that people cannot do paperwork. On voter ID, they assume people like just do not have the faculties to go get an ID. They assume on the issue of abortion that people just like cannot conceive of the fact that that maybe it like first of all they just shouldn't be having sex before marriage. But if you are, that maybe one should use a condom or use other protective measures. Like that's what their position almost always boils down to on these systemic level arguments that people are just like to quote that one, I think it was Iranian dude, that the people are just retarded. Like that's like always what their position ultimately boils down to.
Yeah, Yeah, they're just assume that everyone's the stupidest people on earth. And it's so eugenics coded, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to put all the Planned Parenthoods in the black neighborhoods. We're going to, they're not smart enough to use protection. And we really don't want those ones reproducing.
No, exactly.
If they can't figure out how to use a condom, we don't want them having kids.
Yeah, I feel like everyone knows this by now, but literally the reason that Planned Parenthood was started was as a eugenics project against the black population.
Yeah, the famous Margaret Sanger quote, or not, I'm totally, I'm getting, is it?
I think it was, yeah.
I'm thinking I'm getting Peter Sanger confused.
Maybe.
Anyway, the famous quote is, "We do not want word to get out that it is our goal to exterminate the Negro population," is a quote from her writings.
Access to
In schools?
Yeah, of course.
At what age?
Is at an age appropriate level. I would say starting in late middle school, because I was in middle school, you were in middle school, we were all in middle school. The second thing that I think is also important here would be free and fair access to contraceptives, and we should also try to find ways to limit financial instability in young women and young men, because the leading cause of women accessing abortion is financial instability. But you still haven't answered the question, and you've been up here for a while.
Okay.
I want to hear why you.
I would throw that back at him. He just said the leading cause of women getting abortions is what did he say?
Financial instability.
Financial instability. So convenience.
Yeah, no, literally.
Yeah. They're like, I can't afford this right now, I'm just gonna kill it.
Yeah, exactly. And like that position.
You can also put it up for adoption, by the way. So it literally, the leading reason for abortion is just inconvenience.
Well, yeah, and if Dean's point here is just that financial instability like makes it permissible, I guess, for someone to get an abortion, then why not extend that logic to just what, like, after they're born, like what is the actual difference, like what is the difference there? And what you come to the conclusion of is that this argument of why people get abortions has absolutely no relevance or bearing to the question of whether or not it should be legal.
Yeah, because if people should be getting abortions, then it doesn't matter why.
Exactly.
And so it's all just aside the point and to obfuscate
men, because the leading cause of women accessing abortion is financial instability. But you still haven't answered the question, and you've been up here for a while.
Okay.
I want to hear why you think that abortion is wrong. I think that you're struggling to come up with an argument.
Because it is murder.
And the definition of murder would be the unjust termination of a human life. Explain why you think it's unjust.
First of all, a woman who has a pregnancy, a baby in there, they have the right to life too.
What grants the fetus the right to life?
What grants it just that it's been conceived.
Or the fact that it's a human?
It is a human.
Okay, so brain dead patients have the right to life too?
So what, brain dead?
Yeah, they're human.
You know what? I've heard of brain dead humans coming out of comas.
Then they're not brain dead. The definition of brain death is irreversible cessation of all cognitive function. Do humans who are biologically alive because of machines?
Well, this just doesn't make any sense, because the fact that he's like irreversible, it has to be irreversible. Why? If your argument is that consciousness is what decides whether or not you have value, why does it matter if the consciousness will come back?
Yeah.
Because the consciousness will come to the fetus, and then that's just when he has to pull out the total, excuse my language, guys, bullshit, where he just says, oh, well, no, the past experience, it needs a past and future experience.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why does it need the past experience?
Yeah, exactly.
Prove that to me, Dean. Prove to me that the past experience is what makes the life valuable. God.
With irreversible cessation of all cognitive function have the right to life.
I haven't really researched that, so if there was no hope, possibly,
okay,
they should. I mean, that's not my decision to make. That's a family member's.
Okay, so you think it should be up to the choice of the family to kill a human?
You know what?
No, that doesn't have the right to life.
Doesn't mean.
So you don't think that all humans have the right to life? So what is a fetus?
But if they're brain dead, are they really alive?
Yes, biologically they are.
You know what? That's a determination that I would have to take with a medical doctor.
Say the same thing about women for abortion. Then.
No, I don't believe that a woman has that even right. That a woman should be able to get an abortion here in California.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
I don't.
We have to pause there. You've been voted out.
Thanks for your time, Tish.
Okay, if you want to be the next debater, please get to the center chair in 3.
Notice they let Tish stay longer than the prior girl because she was doing better than the last girl was.
2, 1.
Hi, Dean. I'm Enya.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I couldn't hear a lot of what you were kind of saying a while ago, but what were you saying was brain dead people about if they should be unplugged?
Well, I brought up a brain dead patient as a counterexample to the claim.
The canine gecko in chat says, Dean is brain dead. Does he have the right to life?
That is fun.
Oh, dude, you need to sign up for one of the Jubilee videos. That'd be hilarious.
The reason why it's immoral. The reason why it's murder to kill a fetus is because the fetus is a member of the human species.
Yes.
So brain dead patients on a biological level.
And they should not be unplugged. And I think actually any argument that anyone makes for a brain dead patient to be unplugged is actually coming from the doctors who want to harvest organs and to promote the organ donation industry culture. And I think that any kind of promotion that even
Dean is not fucking listening to a word this girl's saying. Look at his...
donation industry culture. And I think
He's just sat there. This is a man who's purely listening to respond and not at all listening to listen. This guy's pissed, dude. What? I've heard that Dean is known to freak out people on set and it conveniently never gets out.
that any kind of promotion that even manipulates families into unplugging their brain dead relatives is also immoral.
Yeah, I think we agree. We agree on that.
And so
organ harvesting aside, if a family wants to unplug a brain dead family member because it's the end of the road,
that is immoral.
That would be murder?
Yeah. But I think the doctor, it would be murder from the doctor in the same way that...
So you truly think it's murder to kill any member of the human species? What about a zygote?
That is also murder.
So if I kill a unicellular...
Obviously.
Yeah. That's like the obvious extension of the pro-life position.
Well, no, he's like, what about it? Oh, so you think abortion's murder too? Dean, are you the prompt is abortion should be legal. Well, obviously she thinks it's murder. Like, wait, so in his mind, because it does seem kind of absurd that unplugging a brain dead patient would be murder. That does seem like an absurdity, I think. Definitely not as big as the pro-choice absurdities, but it seems like one. And that is like, he's like, okay, so you think brain dead, but you don't think abortion's wrong. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, no.
You think abortion's wrong? Oh my God. Like, that's the absurdity to them.
Organism, a murder? Do you think that all murderers should go to jail?
Human zygotes, it's about humans.
So do you think that all murderers should go to jail?
All murderers should be put into trial and tried.
But if they're truly murderers, like that's an uncontestable fact.
Then yeah, they should be put to death.
They should be put to death.
I do believe in the death penalty.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing. Do you know what an IUD is?
Yeah.
So an IUD, an intrauterine device.
Dean says this all the time. He's going to say, an IUD sometimes causes abortive effects. So therefore, you'd say any woman who gets an IUD is a murderer. Dean, if you hit someone at night with your car on accident, it's not murder, dumbass. That's not what murder is. Murder is the intentional killing of another human being. So for him to be like, oh, well, you know, if you get an IUD and you have absolutely no clue that it has abortive effects and you accidentally get a miscarriage because of the IUD, then you think they should get the death penalty? What?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't stand for anything else. Like if I'm shooting a prop gun and it's accidentally a real gun and I accidentally like shoot someone in the foot and they bleed out, oh, I should get the death penalty? Obviously.
Was it Robert De Niro that did that?
Yeah. It's like, obviously you shouldn't. So for him to, like, it's just such a stupid
In some
argument.
circumstances,
I already know where you're going to go with this.
allow for conception to occur.
Yeah.
But then it will implant.
The canine gecko again with an absolute banger says Dean wouldn't want his plug unplugged.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Al Baldwin. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, then it will prevent the implantation of the now conceived zygote.
The purpose of the IUD
Can you
is
please
to
allow me to
prevent
finish?
implantation. If it leads to death,
Yeah.
then it's not then it didn't fulfill its purpose. It went beyond that.
That's a secondary purpose. So the main purpose of an IUD would be to prevent conception, but when that fails, the secondary purpose is to then prevent its implantation. So if a woman knows that sometimes IUDs will allow for conception to occur, then they kill that conceived zygote, and they still yet choose to be sexually active, then inevitably they conceive a zygote, and it dies because of the IUD.
If a woman knows that a procedure can cause an abortion and she does the procedure, is it murder? It would be it'd be reckless manslaughter or third-degree murder at the very worst.
Yeah.
So like, it still wouldn't be death, and it also still wouldn't be life in prison. But for him to like, this is so bad faith. Dean is 100% smart enough to know that this argument doesn't stand and exactly why it doesn't stand. And he would never pull this on someone who knows what they're talking about.
No, exactly.
Ever. He only pulls this when there's people who he knows he can get away with it on. And it honestly makes me sick. Like, it's just so disgusting for him to try to get away with this. Oh, what do we...
I prevent inception by not watching DiCaprio movies. Pretty sure he means conception.
people
Under
have
your view, they're a
IUDs
murderer.
implanted, it is not for anything beyond just the prevention. It is not done for the murder of any kind of implanted
Well, because
zygotes.
it's a secondary purpose and function of the IUD. If a woman knows that, then she's agreeing to the culpability of possibly having her actions yield the death of another person. Okay, and under your view and hopefully mine, that would be murder, given that the person that she's killing through her actions by secondary
But
order
that was not
is
the
valuable.
primary purpose of the IUD.
Well, if I buy a gun with the primary purpose of going hunting, but then one day I get really mad and I use it to kill my neighbor.
No. That's like if you get a gun to go hunting and you shoot a deer and it goes through and like hits someone. Should I get the death penalty? No, Dean.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
wasn't the goal of shooting the deer.
Yeah.
Like obviously you knew there was a chance it could happen, but you also knew it was exceedingly rare, and if you took the proper precautions, then you'd be fine.
Neighbor. Okay, I'm still a murderer.
No,
If I
the
buy out my
primary purpose
car
of
for
the
the
gun
primary
is
purpose
to
of-
shoot. Your primary
better
purpose
example
is
is a car.
hunting. Your secondary purpose by that
A better
by
example is
that
a car.
argument was
if,
to shoot that
If
person.
I buy a car to get from point A to point B, but then one day I get drunk and I use it to like wipe out a family of 5, am I a murderer?
Yes.
Even though that wasn't the primary function of the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I would even take issue with that. I wouldn't say, I'd say you killed someone, you got someone killed, but you didn't murder them. You didn't intentionally go out and kill somebody. And I know that like that could technically be charged as murder,
Yeah.
but I think that it's definitely a different kind of thing to hit someone while you're drunk driving than it is to like point a gun at someone's head and pull the trigger.
No, exactly.
Those are definitely two different kinds of thing.
Okay, so
you
then even
use
though
that-
Which we would never give the death penalty to someone for driving under the influence and getting someone else killed. Like that just would not happen.
Yeah, that would never get the death penalty.
that
killing a
car
zygote's
in
not
the
the
same way you
primary
use the
function
gun
of an
as a
IUD.
weapon. You use that
when it
car
does
as a
kill a
weapon.
zygote, under your view, it's murder.
But even though the primary purpose of the car is for driving, you use
Yeah, Jorge points out something. It's interesting he seems to think unintentionally killing is murder. Well, I think it's interesting because it sounds like he's saying killing is murder.
Right.
Which, funny enough, just biologically speaking, getting an abortion is killing the
Yeah.
fetus. Like, not morality, is abortion right, is abortion wrong. Just definitionally speaking, killing the fetus is like an abortion is killing the fetus because it is a
Right.
live organism that you're stopping its production of itself.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he's like equating these two things, and if it was true, then he'd have to say you're murdering the fetus.
for something beyond that. Its secondary purpose was not to be driven drunk and kill.
Well, the
5
secondary purpose of an IUD
secondary
is to kill a
purpose
zygote. But
doesn't
listen,
mean-
I think that ultimately the primary or secondary purpose argument is irrelevant because what we should be evaluating
agree.
is did a valuable life die and is a person culpable for
Yeah,
the
what is he-
termination of that?
Ultimately, I think the primary and secondary argument is, dude, you're the one who brought
Yeah,
this
literally.
up. Like, God, this is just so stupid, and you're so stupid for arguing it. Dude, you're the one who brought it up.
That valuable life. And if a valuable life died and a person is culpable for the
No,
termination
What do we
of
think?
that
because it
Captain's
valuable
was
life,
honor
used only
and
for
it
its
was not
primary
justified,
purpose
then
of
it's murder.
preventing the pregnancy in the first place.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. You don't think in all scenarios when an individual terminates a valuable life unjustifiably so, and they are culpable for said termination that they're a murderer, well, then you're just completely redefining what murder even is by introducing the...
No, you're redefining what murderer is. But because right now his definition of murderer is just you do something that leads to the death of another person.
Exactly.
Which is not what a murderer is.
Yeah, no, like murder has to be direct, has to be intentional, has to have like some sort of malice or forethought.
Yeah, you're not a murderer if like someone slips on your stairs because you forgot to put up a wet floor sign.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't make you a murderer. That you killed someone with your negligence doesn't make you a murderer. Oh.
abstract nuance of this quote-unquote primary or secondary purpose
You were the one
argument.
who brought that up
At
in
the
the
end of the
first
day,
place.
the fact of the matter is, in many scenarios, women will get an IUD knowing that in many cases, the IUD will lead to the death of a conceived zygote. And they will know it will lead to that in many scenarios. Then they will still choose to be sexually active, and then the IUD will kill. Under your view, that would mean that that woman is culpable for murder. Therefore, under your view, that woman should be executed.
You kind of said a
We have
lot
to
there.
pause there. You've been voted out.
Okay.
If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Howdy.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi. Shannon, Dean, pleasure to
Nice
meet you.
you. So I want to know why you think that killing babies should be legal.
Of course, because I'm a brutalistic Satanist and I love the DNC and I'm
True.
the leader.
Okay. Dean is so bad faith because he actually agrees with the statement.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that killing babies should be legal? He agrees that life begins at conception. He agrees that it is killing. His contention is that, well, killing human beings isn't inherently wrong. It's only sometimes wrong.
Right.
And she's literally asking a very good faith question. Why do you think that killing babies should be legal?
Exactly.
And then he responds, because I'm a Satanist in the DNC and I'm with the deep state. And they're like, Dean, she just asked you the most valid question ever.
Exactly.
Antifa. Listen, the reason why I think abortion should be legal is because I don't think that abortion is morally wrong. I think it's a permissible action.
Obviously.
And because I think it's a permissible action, I therefore don't see any good reason to infringe on a woman's bodily autonomy in the legal prevention of her access to abortion. Therefore, it's a human rights violation.
So you don't understand it. It's like killing. You don't think it's killing.
Like, that's just not an answer. Like he says, well, or she asks, like, why? Pretty much, why do you think abortion should be illegal? And he says, well, I don't think abortion's wrong, and I think we should ban wrong things, so abortion shouldn't be illegal. Obviously, why is your position that it's moral? Like,
yeah.
Like he said literally nothing there except restating the prompt.
Can you prove it, Dean? Can you prove it? Can you prove it?
Genuinely.
And it's
killing a human being.
No, I do.
And you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't.
You
see
don't
anything
think that
morally
we
wrong
should
with it.
focus more on preventable measures because you.
I wish that Dean would come out and just say this more directly. And if I were on the Jubilee set, I would say, you think that killing human beings, there's nothing wrong with killing human beings. And then if he tries, well, in some circumstances, and I would say, no, you don't think there's anything inherently wrong with killing human beings. And then if he said yes to that, I'd say, so let's say I got a baby and we just went in, scooped out its brain so it didn't develop fully. And then it was born and I raped it. You don't think there's anything wrong with raping humans either. And then Dean would have to say, no, I don't. But he'd refuse. Obviously, he'd be like, oh, yeah. Well, but you're not in. And like, no, Dean, you don't think there's anything wrong with killing human beings. You don't think there's anything wrong with abusing human beings. You don't think there's anything wrong with raping human beings. And then all of a sudden, who's the one who sounds crazy? The one who wants to protect the single-celled zygote? And not only that, I would ask him, so you would tell any viewer listening right now, if you think it is inherently wrong to kill a human being, you cannot be pro-choice. You would make that, you would say that right now. And I would just love to hear him and Parker say that. Because if they just come out and say that, I actually think that this is how we win the fight for life. Is I think the left has been so inconsistent, the safe, legal, and rare of Bill Clinton. Well, why?
No, exactly. I was just about to say that. Like this whole position of we need to have other measures. I think abortion just shouldn't happen, and we should just try to limit it. Why? If it's not a life, and there's nothing wrong with killing it, what makes that any different from wearing a condom or like having any other form of birth control? If abortion isn't wrong all the way through, full 9 months, or even at any point, if it isn't murder, then what is the difference between getting an abortion and literally any other form of preventing a pregnancy or preventing the birth of the baby? If your position is that abortion is legal, then safe, legal, and rare is just an asinine position to have.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. And for Dean to just what was I saying in this argument here? Yeah, so I just wish I think what's going to end up happening is more and more people are going to become like Dean.
Yeah.
Where they're going to come out and they're going to be less hidden about these things as it becomes more acceptable. And then hopefully the American body politic is sensible enough to go, well, half these people don't think there's anything wrong with raping and killing human beings. And the other group of people don't like it.
Exactly.
So maybe what's less crazy is that I'd be pro-life. And I'm hoping that that's the key to victory on this fight to life.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an abortion.
Oh, well, I also disagree there. I do think that we should focus on preventable measures. In my optimal society, there's 0 abortions, okay?
Why? Why is there 0 abortions in your optimal society?
Yeah, no, genuinely, yeah.
Like, what if in your optimal society, there's just one person who really likes getting abortions? Is that cool? Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, yeah, because there are genuinely people like that.
I'm not saying there's a lot of them. Obviously,
no,
everyone.
Like there are some who that's I guess a hobby, like a literal hobby of theirs. Like there's been TikTok videos and stuff
out of Planned Parenthood, they're like getting my 8th abortion.
Yeah, exactly. People who genuinely enjoy getting abortions, like not even satire or anything. Like that's just their thing. And if your position that abortion is just never wrong, what is actually wrong with that position? And I think that everyone, or not everyone, but the vast majority of people would intuitively see that and be like, this is weird and there's something morally wrong about this person, about the actions that they're doing. And the question is why? If abortion is just, not wrong, then what the person is doing is literally, no worse than just, having sex frequently and frequently wearing a condom. right?
Not because-
like these positions are, like synonymous. Like if you believe that abortion is morally permissible and shouldn't be illegal,
then you shouldn't care
exactly
how many abortions are in a year.
Yeah, 100%.
You shouldn't say my ideal world is 0. You should say I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because we're forcing women to not get them, but rather because the conditions in which lead women to get them don't exist, such as poverty, financial instability, a lack of sexual education, the failure of contraceptives.
In my ideal society, women are the leaders. There's no more periods.
Yeah.
That's literally the first prompt is women are better leaders than men. And it's just like, oh God, Dean. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe he does actually believe it all. It feels so performative that your first prompt is women are better leaders than men. First of all, if you're gonna I could understand saying like, well, women are as good of leaders as men. But to just come out and say like, oh, despite the fact that women just have not made up leadership historically, I have no clue. Oh yeah. Let's pull this up. This is Dean. I have no personality and I must LARP.
That's genuinely Dean right now. Yeah, like the whole like women should be all the leaders and everything else. Like it's literally like the pinnacle of the whole like performative male meme. Like that is literally Dean, like to a nutshell.
Yeah, Dean is very much a clip farmer. American CP3 says Dean is disgusting. He's not a sincere person. Dean has no morals because everything he debates is a joke. He picks a topic even if he disagrees with it. Dean only wants to get the gotcha moment 100%. Yeah. Dean, like, he uses these arguments to try to get clips, and he knows they're not good arguments. We've talked about a few of them now, and there's some arguments that are harder to conquer that I think Dean might genuinely believe in. But a lot of them, like he's talking about, well, the secondary cause, and well, you think IUDs, they're murderers? Anyone who gets an IUD is a murderer? Dean is smart enough to know that that argument is completely retarded. He just wants to get the clip.
Exactly.
He wants to get a clip that makes him look good and makes the people that he's arguing with look bad, that his fans will like gobble up and eat, even though it's like total garbage.
Well, the issue with it too is that it's just so unnecessary. Like Dean could very easily use a good faith talking or like semi good faith talking point here, like the issue of IVF, which is actually like kind of a like not necessarily an absurdity, but like something that like consistent pro-lifers have to kind of concede to that that IVF is wrong. Because those are implanted zygotes. Like Dean could very easily do that. It's just the pinnacle of bad faith debater for the sake of being a bad faith debater.
Yeah, 100%.
Society, those things wouldn't exist.
Do you know that if a woman gets pregnant, she's not financially able to keep the baby and she doesn't want the baby, she could at least take Plan B?
Yeah. And I think that would be a good fact of sexual education to share with the world.
People know, nobody's like, I just had sex, we didn't use a condom, I'm not on birth control. What happens when people have sex without birth control? Nothing, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think it's normal. I think that's fine. I don't think anything happens when you do that. Like, what is this? What is this infantilization of full-grown people? Even a 12-year-old will tell you that when you have sex, you get pregnant. It's not rocket science.
That Plan B exists. Well, I mean, actually, Plan B is $55. There's off-brand versions that are $20, and I think that is a good piece of recommendation.
Dean's definitely pressured multiple women into taking Plan B.
100%.
I'm joking, but I wouldn't be surprised.
But ultimately, if they don't take a Plan B,
babe, take it, please, please, I'll do anything. I can see it. It's where's my anxiety pen? Where's my anxiety pen?
Like happens after the pregnancy, they should be able to access abortion. Hey, I want to ask you this question. Do you think that victims of should be able to access abortion?
No, because they could also take a morning after pill if they get. If I were to get, I would go take a morning after pill the very next day.
Wow. So you think that a victim would have an obligation to maintain a pregnancy? Is that because that if they were to like cessate or stop the pregnancy, the fetus would die? Okay, of course it is. So I want to ask you a question. Do you know who Max?
How rude? How rude? Like, it doesn't even wait for a response.
To, like, cessate or stop the pregnancy, the fetus would die. Okay, of course it is. So I want to ask you.
He doesn't even give her a chance. Do you think it's because the fetus would have to be killed? Of course it is. He just doesn't even talk to people like they're humans. I wonder what he's like off camera. Because some of these people are really, really harsh on camera, and then they're fine afterward. but he's just like so rude in really subtle ways. Dean does not put his shopping cart back, I'm willing to bet. Someone needs to, obviously no one stalked
Dean
Dean.
Withers should not be able to vote.
If you catch Dean Withers at Walmart, Costco, Target, you know, wherever he's at, please let us know if he returns a shopping cart or not. Because for some reason, I strongly suspect.
Question: do you know who Max Irby is?
No.
So Max Irby is a 15, 14-year-old guy, and he's in dire need of a stem cell transplant. And this is a true story. You could look it up. And his stem cell type is so incredibly rare that his father set up a quote-unquote fundraiser for his son, taking random DNA samples in from people across the globe. So far, they've collected 40 million samples, and there hasn't been one match. What this means is that there's probably only one match alive on the face of planet Earth that could provide stem cells to Max Irby to save his life. So let's hypothetically assume that you are the one and only match for Max Irby's stem cell type, and the government finds this out. Then the government forces you to provide your stem cells to Max Irby without your consent for 9 months, introducing many physical and mental complications. Do you think that'd be just?
No.
Okay, so the main rebuttal that I use to this argument actually isn't a logical one, even though I do think that there's strong logical arguments. What I would say first and foremost is, let's say your son is the one who needs the stem cells, and you're the only match on Earth.
Right.
Now, maybe you don't think you should be legally required to, although I think there's a very strong argument to say you're legally required to provide your son those stem cells. I would say, at the very least, Dean, you would agree, if you didn't give your son the stem cells for him to survive that would not kill you, you'd be an awful, terrible, evil human being, right, Dean? Right? If you don't give your son, like, let's say your son needs blood and you're the only match on Earth for some reason, you have some rare genetic thing. You should be required to give your son your blood, or if you don't, you're a terrible, terrible person. And he would say, obviously yes, because obviously yes.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the only person that can save your own child and you choose to just deny them the care because you don't want to be like moderately uncomfortable for 9 months, that makes you a terrible person.
I will say, I do appreciate how pro-choicers have kind of leveled up from the violinist experiment or type argument. And like, because I feel like this intuitively is just very similar to the whole violinist question.
Yeah. It
And like the violinist experiment, like for those who don't know, pretty much what it is, it's a thought experiment where you have a violinist who has gone in a car accident with you, and then you're hooked up to the person. The only way to keep them alive is for you to stay hooked up to them for 9 months, and you know that probably they will wake up and fine in 9 months. And then so their follow-up question is like, are you legally, or should you be legally or morally required to stay hooked up to the person? And my answer is yes to that question. And legally also, there I think is a very good argument to me. The answer is also yes. So, and I do want to take this experiment a step further too with this whole violinist argument, because if you really argue for pro-life stuff a lot, you will hear this experiment brought up. And let's assume with this that there's.
I think we talked about rape too much.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.